Hello and welcome to another episode of Unmuted. I'm your host, Courtland Warren, and hard to believe that this is actually episode number 27. The title of this podcast is Unmuted, and that is in reference to the desire for you to find your voice so that you can impact your world. So thank you for joining in. If you create value from listening, please don't keep it a secret. We want others to know that they are remarkable and they deserve to be heard. What a hell of a week. What a hell of a week it has been for me. I'm talking about the ups and the downs. There was definitely polarity present in my life this week. Polarity is that premise that in order for anything to exist, the opposite must exist also. So, for example, you wouldn't know up without down. You wouldn't know light without experiencing darkness. There is no positive without negative. You can't experience failure, you can't experience success without experiencing some failure. So the law of polarity says that in order for it to exist, then the opposite must exist also. And I definitely had a week of opposites. It was about a week ago that I found myself in Las Vegas, and I was speaking at a conference that was EXPCon, and I was invited in by a friend and mentor, and it was fabulous. It was extraordinary. Really felt like we impacted people with understanding power and influence and persuasion. And then later in that same week, I got an incredibly devastating call that my friend and mentor had passed away. Just literally days prior, we were at dinner, and I'm still in. I remember that night after I learned the news. I remember not sleeping very well, but I wanted to be able to wake up and have it be that news that I had received was a really, really awful and bad dream. So there were the highs and the lows. And then in the area of, business and connections and networking, I played in a golf tournament in Georgia. I was a guest at the Bentley Invitational. I don't drive a Bentley, but maybe that's about to change. But I was invited to play in the Bentley Invitational golf tournament. Absolutely extraordinary experience. Wonderful people. Played okay, not great. And then met with other just disheartening news about actions of a friend and associate. And then in the areas where I feel really, really excited, there are also there's fatigue, there's opportunity, and then there's obligation. And so all around, it has been one incredible week. So much so that it got me thinking, is it possible? Is it possible to change a life in a week? And I have experienced a week that provides me with that answer. Hell yes. Think about it. Sometimes people are like, well, can you really change your life in a day? Can you really change your life in a week? Well, think about how often, or are there times in your life where you've gotten some news that changed you instantly, where things were instantly different as a result of news that you received? So when it comes to you being deliberate and intentional about changing your life and changing your world, and we tend to think that it's going to take such a long time, but we forget that there are periods in our lives where one piece of news or one event, one experience, one circumstance completely upends. You feel the rug pulled from underneath, or some advancement in career, and instantly things change. And so the universe is ultimately not a source that works in this time component that has been created by humans, but it's infinite. In fact, our time on the planet is really minuscule. It's not even measurable in the in the time duration. But we can strive to do something that matters, or will time pass and it never be known that you ever existed? And so I started to explore that. I said, okay, well, if I were to say, here's how you can significantly impact or change your life in 1 week's time? What are some things that you could do? If there were, let's say, five things that you could do to improve your life in just 1 week. I understand that some of us are in places where things need to be different, and they need to be different now. Like you're beyond a place of comfort. Like you're not comfortable at all. You want things to be different, or perhaps you've also received some news. You got some information that has you in this place of urgency, and you're tired of waiting. You're tired of being on the sidelines. You're tired of wondering when it's going to happen for you. And you're like, okay, is there something that I can do that could significantly improve my life in just a week's time? Not 5 years, not 10 years, not down the road, but in a week's time. If I were going to take on some new habits, what might those things be? Here's what I believe are the things that matter based on my research, my testing. Here are 5 things that I believe are critical to life improvement. First and foremost, every day you wake up, yes, it's a new day. Yes, we have gratitude for it. But if you get lucky enough to have another day, then make sure that day starts with a morning routine. It actually sets you in the mode of creation and living a life by design. It's like when you go to the gym to work out, or you see athletes, before the game, there's a reason why we go through our stretches. It's not just so that we don't pull a muscle, but when you go through that, it's actually a process of getting your mind ready for competition, or getting yourself into a state of competing, preparing yourself for, in some cases, battle, to get to shift your mindset to a place of bringing forth your best. Your morning routine can actually be that for you. Your morning routine is your groundedness. It brings you present, brings you fully present to the opportunity that is the day ahead. And if you are a person who's determined that you're going to maximize each day, and you want to position yourself to look back on the day and say, that's the day that I won, then creating a morning routine will support that. So start your day with a routine that is planned. And it includes activities like exercise, meditation, journaling, reading. A positive morning routine sets the tone for the rest of your day and can greatly improve your productivity and your overall well-being. Don't miss the moments to envision the day that you desire to have. Here's what's true. We have the ability to think backwards in time, which means then that we have the ability to think forward in time. Essentially, that's what entrepreneurship is, right? That's what it means to be a resilient entrepreneur, is to look out into the future and see what's happening or occurring. And then in the present, you go out and work to build and design it. A lot more difficult to do if you're not clear, or if your vision is not clear. So one, have a morning routine. Start your day off with a morning routine that includes meditation or prayer, hydration, exercise, moving your physical body, affirmations where you load up on the internal dialogue and conversation that supports the remarkable person that you are. Number two, I would say time block. You go through the week. Okay, if you want to improve your week, then you start by time blocking your day and determining what things are important and those things that must be done, and you carve out the time to do them. Block it out. And in those times, then nothing short of a life-threatening emergency gets your attention. So there's no phone call, there's no email, there's no text, there's no social media, there's no eating, there's no drinking. During that period of time, you are laser focused on producing a particular outcome for the things that are important. And it doesn't have to just be work. It could be that those are the times that you're present with your spouse, times that you're present with your children, times that you're working on your business, times that you've committed to your health. But identify the things that are most important to you to get done, and then you prioritize those by time blocking them. I have often been known for saying that I know what you value by what you schedule. Not by what you talk about, but what you schedule. Person says, well, the most important thing to me is family. I say, great. Show me in your calendar where you have blocked off the time that you're going to spend with your son or with your daughter or with your spouse, your partner. Oh, well, they know I'm there for them. No. We know what you value by what you schedule. So time block it. So you want to improve your life in the next week. 5 ways to improve your life over the next week. Number 1, start with a morning routine. Number 2, time block. Number 3, limit your distractions. So here's the deal. When you don't prioritize what's important, when you are not intentional about the production and actualization of your purpose, then distractions will come in and they will rob you of your most precious asset, and that is your attention. Your most precious asset is, oftentimes people say time, but really you don't get to control how much time you're even on the planet. So in the time that you have, it's about what do you give your attention to? And so ROA, your return on attention. What do you give your attention to? And do the things that you give your attention to, do they produce for you a return that is worthy of the time or the attention that you gave it? And so identify and minimize the distractions that hinder your productivity. This could mean turning off your notifications, right? I don't know if Android does, but definitely the iPhone has, where you can turn on do not disturb. And you can do that in the middle of your day as you're time blocking 45 minutes or 30 to 45 minute segments throughout your day. Just make it where you don't even see notifications. Blocking certain websites or apps during work hours, or setting boundaries with people who regularly interrupt your focus. Those that have worked with me before know that just because my phone rings doesn't mean I answer it. Just because you send a text doesn't mean I automatically reply. And particularly just a random call because you have my number does not mean that I answer it. I value my time much more than that. And it's usually locked in and dedicated to a particular purpose. Doesn't mean that I won't call back, doesn't mean I won't get to a person, but I am not a slave to it in the sense that because it rings, then I must answer it. It's not how it works, at least for me. So because you got to limit your distractions. Here's the thing. Someone else's, priority doesn't have to become yours. But inevitably, when you're not clear about what your purpose is, then you will find that you will find yourself weighed down by the distractions of other people. So you got to limit those. All right. So number 1 is we're going to create or start your day with a morning routine. And number 2, we're going to practice time blocking. Number 3, we're going to limit the distractions. Number 4, if you want to have a powerful and productive week this week, then practice gratitude and also positive thinking. What do I mean by this? You've got to be mindful of the internal dialogue. You got to be mindful of the conversations that you're having with yourself. Would you be in relationship with a person who spoke to you the way you speak to yourself? That is a question that can be the beginning of your personal development and transformational journey. Okay. Would you be in relationship with a person who spoke to you the way you speak to yourself? And so the energy or the vibration, the frequency of gratitude, that vibrational frequency actually attracts to you more of the same. See, the reality is that we get more of what we give emotion to. Why? Because a feeling is a conscious awareness of vibration. Vibrational, we talk about frequency. That frequency of vibration, that feeling is being produced by your predominant thought at the time. Thought is the highest form of energy. Everything is energy. The law of perpetual transmutation of energy says that thoughts become things. So energy or perpetual transmutation of energy essentially says that energy moves into physical form. If energy moves into physical form and the highest form of energy is a thought, then that's how we establish that thoughts become things. And so rather than, control your feelings, no, it's control your thinking, because the thinking produces the feeling. And the feeling is the conscious awareness of vibration or frequency. And that is how you draw to you. That's how you attract to you more of whatever you're giving emotion to. So if you're a person who does not celebrate victories, who doesn't celebrate your wins, who doesn't celebrate your accomplishments and achievements, and you're numb to that as though, well, that's what was supposed to happen, so you give it no emotional charge or celebration, then you actually distance yourself from accomplishing more. And note that if you're a person who gets really upset, you're irate, you're angry, upset when things don't go the way you want it to, well, just know that that energy, the emotion that you give, the outcome that you did not want, actually attracts more to you that thing that you're upset about. So you got to get into the habit of practicing gratitude and celebrating your accomplishments and your wins. You can do that through a gratitude list, a gratitude journal. I'm not really stuck on how you do it. Make sure that it is a part of your practice on a daily and weekly basis. Thank you and more, please. Thank you and more, please. Right? So when it happens the way that you desire, when you see it unfold the way that you had pictured it, thank you and I'll have some more of that. Get into that practice where you celebrate and acknowledge it. And if necessary, begin to change the conversations that you're having internally so that they align with what you want to create more of and, more, better, and different in your life. And then number 5. So again, we're looking at what are 5 ways for you to improve your life this week. Number 1, start with a morning routine. Number 2, practice time blocking. Number 3, limit your distractions. Number 4, practice gratitude. And then number 5, look for ways or seek out ways for personal growth and opportunities. It's got to be a part of your life, not as a hobby, not as a thing that you do whenever, you're down, not as something that you do whenever you lose momentum or you feel like you've lost your mojo. In my experience with high achievers, one of the things that is a part of their life is their continued commitment and intentionality around growth and expansion. It is not for them just it's not about convenience for them. It's their life. It's how they make themselves move. It is what they do to practice personal power. So dedicate time each day to engaging in activities that promote your personal growth. This could include like reading self-improvement books, listening to educational podcasts like this one, attending webinars, or engaging in online courses. Continuous learning and personal growth contribute to a more fulfilling and satisfying life. You've got to make it part of your life. Part of your life is your commitment to growth and expansion. And it doesn't matter what everybody else is doing. Daily, you're seeking out ways to conquer the mind. Daily, you're looking for opportunities for growth and expansion where you're in conversations that challenge your ideas, conversations that challenge your old beliefs. My good friend Claudia reached out this week, and I was talking to her about the podcast, and she said, well, will you, and I haven't developed it just yet, Claudia, but she said, can you talk about like the she said the cultural beliefs that are passed down. And what I started to think about was, hand-me-down clothes. Maybe you didn't experience this, but I did. Not all my clothes were new. Some of my clothes were handed down. Okay, they were too small for someone else, but a perfect size for me. Hand-me-down clothing. When I started thinking about that, based on Claudia's prompt, I was like, man, not only is there hand-me-down clothing, there's also hand-me-down beliefs. There are beliefs that get handed down. I was just listening to a reel, and the person was making the case that a lot of times, depending on how you grew up and what some of your upbringing may have been, for hers, she spoke about growing up in church and how a lot of her imposter syndrome could actually be tied to, check this out, her experiences in church. And this is not a debate on, God. It's not a debate on God or church. It's really not even about, I'm not proselytizing at all, but I do know that I grew up in a church where oftentimes the songs were, you're not deserving, you're not worthy, you're not this, you're not that. And emotionally singing those songs with feeling actually ingrains a belief of not worthy, not deserving, not good enough. No matter what you do, you're not. And that's not all. And I understand that's not all religion, but there are some, particularly in the environments that I grew up in, that was a big part of the conversation. And so at a very young age, growing up with that viewpoint, not worthy, not deserving, it's worth exploring. I haven't yet, but that would be an example of a hand-me-down belief. Money doesn't grow on trees. That's a hand-me-down belief. It's too hard to be successful. That's a money-down belief, right? Rich people are evil. That's a hand-me-down belief. So you might explore your life. And so sometimes the journey of discovery is about unraveling and undoing some of what has already been done to really reveal to yourself the truth of who you are, because it's likely that you took on beliefs during a period of time where you were not aware that those beliefs and that self-image and that identity was actually starting to take shape. So a way for you to begin to significantly improve your life, and to do so in a week's time, is to face your personal development journey with priority and with attention. And as you seek it out, you're not seeking it out because there's some outcome that you want other than a desire to be a fully expressed person who lives a life that matters. That's what this is about. That's what this is about. I want you to know that you're remarkable. I want you to know that it is in you to be great. I want you to know that you are not alone and you never have been. I want you to know that you came into the world with everything that you need to be, to do, and to have whatever you can imagine. I want you to know that somewhere along the way, it's likely that you bought a lie, that you bought this false belief that you could not have, that you could not do. And I understand that a lot of what gets promoted or propagated is this idea that success is reserved for just a few. But there is no evidence of that. There is no esoteric being who sits high and looks low and is picking and choosing who gets to win and who's going to fail. And I know that there are the cynics out there and the skeptics out there that want to argue this, and they want to point to luck, and they want to point to good fortune, and they want to point to the family that you were born into. And to a degree, yes, that is true, right? 4 things really determine it, right? So your family, and so the family that you were born into, but also it comes down to work ethic, getting lucky, right? And then you're a true, clear vision and desire. And the reality is that 2 of those things you cannot control. You can't control the family that you were born into, and ultimately you don't control the luck in that regard. But you do control the work ethic, and you control having a clear vision. And you understand the law that thought becomes things. And so if you will control your thought, and you will embrace the idea that we become what we think about most, and you will take ownership of that and recognize that no matter where you've been, no matter what you've been through, what comes next is up to you. That is ultimately what responsibility is about. I want you to get that. I want you to own that. I want you to walk in that. And as you begin that walk, yes, there will be critics. Yes, there will be people that tell you that you're crazy. Yes, there will be people who are going to laugh at you and the idea. And there will be people who will remind you of where you were born and how you grew up and what you used to do. And they got all of this past knowledge about you. But understand this, because I live this now daily. I am not responsible for explaining to you why I am no longer the person that you remember. I've got a life to build, and it's going to be custom. You with me? So yes, and sometimes there will be people who are close enough to you, and they were you had let them in close enough to where they could actually say some things and remind you of some things that are hurtful, painful even. They want to remind you of what you once were, but you have no time for that. You got no time for that, and you have no responsibility to explain to someone from the past how you're no longer the person that they remember. Leave it for them to grow. You've got a life to create and lives to contribute to. I hope this helps. If it does, don't keep it a secret. Let someone know that this podcast exists. Join my mailing list by going to courtlandwarren.com. That's COURTLANDWARREN. Join the mailing list. And if I can be of service to you, reach out, let me know. If your organization is looking for a keynote speaker, you might not want to call me. How's that for a pitch, right? Because I'm going to come in and I'm going to be authentic. I'm going to be raw. I'm going to be real. And people are going to be face to face with their limiting beliefs. And as a result of that, those who listen will be transformed. If you don't want that, if your company doesn't want that, if your organization doesn't want that, I'm not the person to call. If that is what you want true change and not just gimmicky presentation, reach out. I would love to be of service to you. So thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. And you are appreciated.